Good morning, folks. This is Mr. Dan coming to you from the Landscape Design Classroom, and today I'm going to talk to you about the effect of temperature on plants. So, biological temperature range. Every plant has a temperature below which it cannot grow. If you go into a Lowe's or Home Depot or any place that sells plants, you can always find this information out on the label. If you have a plant that can't grow in less or any more than -20. If you can't grow less than -20 to -40 degrees in temperature, it's probably not a great plant to put up here in Pennsylvania. While our temperatures typically don't get that low in the air, they do get that low into the ground with different wind chills and stuff. So always understand that whenever you're getting into that whenever you're planting plants up here, you want to make sure you're staying at least -20 on what a plant can take. So moving back into this, every plant has an optimum temperature for growth. Agricultural plants are divided into cool season and warm season plants. So cool season plants are what we typically use here in Pennsylvania. They're plants that survive mild spring frost, okay to plant early in the spring or in the fall. In your warm season plants, typically for down south, these plants are usually killed by frost, require much warmer temperatures to grow properly, and planted later in the spring. So in cool season crops, cool season, you can get wheat, oats, barley. I'm going to let you guys go through all these. Typically, we don't really deal with these here in this class since we're more of an horticulture class. Some of the cool season plants that we would use, anything from a boxwood up to through a barberry. Pretty much anything that we grow here can grow anywhere in the United States except for once you start hitting Georgia and Florida, then you start seeing a little bit more palm trees and all that. So notice that some plants have both cool and warm season varieties. Some warm season crops, you have cotton and watermelon here, and I will let you guys go through all these ones. One of the important ones though is Bermuda grass. Some different grass types are going to grow better in the south than they are into the north. So if you're planting here in the north, you want to use cool season grasses such as a ryegrass or a bluegrass or even a fescue. Hardening plants. Hardening helps plants become tougher and less likely to be killed or injured by the stress of a cooler environment after they are transplanted into the field or garden. So if you have a plant that started in the greenhouse, you're going to want to try to harden that if you're going to take it out into the field or into an outdoor planter. So young cool season vegetable plants can be hardened by allowing them to wilt slightly before watering or by growing them at temperatures 10 degrees below normal. So if you have a plant you've been working with, it's in there at about, in your greenhouse, consistently at 60 to 70 degrees, let it wilt a little bit before putting it outside. If you're going over 10 degrees, there's a good chance your plant may die out as well. But if you're moving it, just be wary of trying to let it wilt a little bit before you replant it and water it. So winter temperatures and dormancy. Some plants drop leaves and appear dead. Even dormant plants are injured or killed below a certain temperature, like I was talking about before, -20 to -40. Survival depends on a length of cold spell, wind, or recent temperature, age, and health of the plant, and soil moisture. So warm winter temperatures followed by a sudden extreme cold spell can be deadly. So if we have the current weather that we have here in Pennsylvania, I believe this week it was 70 degrees and it'll be cooling down to the low 40s by the weekend. That's really not that big of a change. But if you end up going from 40 degrees to -10, then that's going to be a pretty dramatic shift for a plant and may kill it off. So wide winter temperature variations can bring a premature bud break, then bud freezing. So temperatures for seed germination, I will let you folks go through these. You want to have at least a temperature of about, I would say 45 degrees on the minimum. But if you can keep at the optimum temperature, pretty much any plant you put in 75 to 80 degrees, it's going to start growing at some point. So watermelon can take a lot more heat, but kind of stay in that 75 to 80 degree range. Thermoperiod is the daily temperature change. Plants have a maximum growth when day temperature is about 10 to 15 degrees higher than at night. Temperatures that are too low also slow growth. So the lower the temperature gets, depending on the plant, you're going to have a little bit more stunted growth just based on temperature. So some plants require a certain number of days of low temperatures for best growth. Peaches and lilies are a good example of this. Our U.S. hardiness zones, we have 13 of these in the United States. They're based on average annual temperatures. For here in Pennsylvania, we typically live in about the 3 to, well, our plants usually simply survive about the, 3 to 8 or 9 range. And that's pretty much the range that we live in. So if you have anything less than -40, then you might have a harder time getting this to grow. If you have anything higher than 40 to 50 degree temperatures over time, excuse me one moment. All right, my apologies, folks. Sometimes the phone goes off. So our hardiness zones are based on average annual minimum temperatures. Zone 1 to zone 13. So zone 1 is going to be your coldest, and 13 is going to be your warmest. So that would be like Hawaii and Puerto Rico. Our coldest ones would be definitely in the northern states. So that could be like Montana, Maine, whatever your highest point is getting up there. So called colder zone is generally found at higher latitudes and higher elevations. GDD, which stands for growing degree days, used to estimate the growth and development of plants and insects during the growing season. Development occurs at temperature exceeds some minimal developmental threshold or base temperature. Base temperatures are determined experimentally and are different for each organism, and available in newspapers and internet sites. So vernalization, this is the promotion of flowering by cold treatment given to seeds or plants. Plants must be exposed to a given temperature for a certain length of time to become and remain vernalized. Moving into plant stress, plant growth functions and rates such as absorption of minerals and water are determined by temperature. So all plants have an optimal temperature, and this is the in-between of like what their lowest temperature is and what their highest threshold is. So if you have a plant that has a low threshold of like -10 degrees and a high threshold of 100 degrees, probably its best growing conditions are probably going to be in like the 50 to 60 degree range. So a drop below minimum temperatures for a given plant causes injury or death, and you'll see that in springtime once they come back around. They either won't come back, or they're going to come back with some bruising and maybe even some might be leggy and weak, or might even grow like pretty stocky. So high temperatures can dry the plant or kill the plant cells, and plants should be selected to fit the growth conditions and climate of the area. So you're not going to see a lot of palm trees up in this area, but you are going to see more pine trees, oak trees, maples, and all that good stuff. So that is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions about this, and we'll be getting more in depth than this down in the classroom, but please give me a call with any questions down here in the landscape design classroom. Have a great day, folks. Thanks for listening.